why is the smallest country in the world also one of the most powerful? A nation smaller than a city park with fewer people than a high school. Yet it commands the spiritual loyalty of over 1 billion followers and influences global politics like no other. Welcome to the Heart of Catholicism YouTube channel. The Catholic Path to Peace, where God's faith changes our lives. Vatican City is a global anomaly. Spanning just 44 hectares with around 800 residents, it's not just the world's tiniest nation by land and population, but it's also unique in its very purpose. It wasn't founded on ethnic identity, economic ambition, or military defense. The Vatican exists for one primary reason: to protect the global mission of the Catholic Church and guarantee the complete independence of the Pope. Despite its miniature size, Vatican City wields immense soft power. As the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church, it represents over 1.3 billion followers. The Pope's moral authority shapes global politics, guides peace negotiations, mobilizes humanitarian aid, and influences international diplomacy on a scale that defies its physical boundaries. This independence is not a matter of pride, but of necessity. It ensures that no secular government can control the Pope or restrict the Church's universal mission, allowing the Vatican to maintain neutrality and operate freely without fear of political interference. But how did this tiny sovereign state come to be? Its origins lie in the ancient rise of papal power. From the early centuries of Christianity, the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, began to accumulate authority that was not just spiritual, but also political. After the collapse of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century, a massive power vacuum emerged in Europe. It was the Church that gradually filled this void, providing stability, administration, and leadership across the fractured region. Beginning in the 6th century, this influence took on a territorial form. Through donations, treaties, and strategic political alliances, the Church acquired vast tracts of land. These territories, known as the Papal States, grew to stretch across central Italy, forming a kingdom ruled directly by the Pope. For over 1,000 years, the popes were not only spiritual leaders, but also territorial monarchs. They managed a complex government, collecting taxes, enforcing laws, and overseeing a civil administration that blended religion with secular governance. This created a long-lasting political identity for the papacy, one that would be dramatically challenged in the 19th century. The 1800s were a time of radical change in Europe. A powerful wave of nationalism swept across the continent, inspiring disparate peoples to unite into modern nation-states. Italy, a peninsula of fragmented kingdoms and duchies, was at the heart of this movement. Visionary leaders like Giuseppe Garibaldi, Camillo Cavour, and King Victor Emmanuel II spearheaded a campaign to forge a unified Italian kingdom. As their movement gained momentum, one major obstacle stood in their way: the Papal States, which cut right through the center of the peninsula. For the Italian nationalists, Rome was the historical and symbolic heart of their new nation, and its capture was essential. One by one, the territories of the Papal States fell to the advancing Italian troops. The Church, lacking a modern army, could not resist the overwhelming force of Italian nationalism. The final, decisive moment came in September 1870. Italian forces breached the ancient walls of Rome and entered the city, effectively ending over a millennium of papal temporal rule. Pope Pius IX, refusing to surrender his claim to sovereignty, was powerless to stop the takeover. The Papal States were gone, and the Pope's political authority was extinguished. This event marked the beginning of a bitter 6-decade conflict known as the Roman Question, with the loss of its territory. A major standoff emerged. What was the Pope's status? Was he now a subject of the Italian king, or could he retain some form of sovereignty? The popes from 1870 to 1929 saw themselves as prisoners of the Vatican. In a powerful symbolic protest, they refused to set foot outside the Vatican grounds, signaling their non-recognition of Italian authority over Rome. This self-imposed confinement was meant to emphasize the Church as rejection of the new political order and its demand for independence. The conflict between the newly formed Kingdom of Italy and the Catholic Church was deep and multifaceted. The Italian government passed laws declaring that the Pope could maintain his spiritual independence but would hold no political or territorial power. The Church vehemently rejected this. Disputes erupted over everything from the taxation of church property and the ownership of former papal lands to the role of Catholics in Italian politics. In response, the Church actively discouraged Italian Catholics from participating in the new political system, creating a profound division within Italian society that would last for generations. Several attempts were made to negotiate a solution, but all failed. Italy feared that granting any form of sovereignty to the Pope would undermine its own authority, while the papacy remained firm in its insistence on complete independence. The stalemate finally began to break in the 1920s with the rise of a new, powerful figure in Italian politics, Benito Mussolini. As Mussolini consolidated control and established his fascism, he recognized a critical factor for national stability: the support of Italy's overwhelmingly Catholic population. He understood that resolving the long-standing conflict with the Church would be a major political victory. By settling the Roman Question, Mussolini aimed to legitimize his regime, win the sympathy of millions of Catholics, and forge a stronger, more unified Italy under fascism. The potential benefits were mutual. For Mussolini's government, it meant achieving political stability and gaining the cooperation of the Church. For the Vatican, a treaty offered a chance to restore its international status, secure financial stability, and, most importantly, regain the sovereign independence it had fought for. With these strategic goals in mind, secret negotiations began between representatives of the Italian government and the Holy See. These complex discussions lasted for several years, culminating in a historic agreement that would finally resolve the Roman Question. On February 11, 1929, the conflict officially ended with the signing of the Lateran Treaty. This landmark agreement was composed of 3 parts, but its core was a political pact that established a new reality for both church and state. The treaty's key terms were transformative. First and foremost, Italy formally recognized Vatican City as a fully sovereign and independent nation. The Pope was no longer a prisoner, but the head of his own state, with the absolute right to govern its territory and conduct its own foreign policy. To compensate the Church for the loss of the vast Papal States decades earlier, Italy agreed to provide a substantial financial settlement in the form of cash and government bonds. This provided the Holy See with the financial security needed to operate independently. The treaty also meticulously defined the boundaries of the new state, guaranteeing its perpetual neutrality in international conflicts and reaffirming its complete independence from Italian politics. The Roman Question was finally answered. The Pope was once again a sovereign, and Vatican City was born. This long and difficult struggle underscores why independence was, and remains so crucial for the Vatican. At its heart, sovereignty ensures the Church's spiritual freedom from political control. It protects the papacy from being influenced or manipulated by any single government, allowing the Pope to make decisions based solely on religious and moral principles. This independence is also vital for protecting the Pope's global leadership. His role as the head of a worldwide faith requires freedom of movement, the ability to conduct diplomacy, and a moral authority that would be compromised if he were a subject of another state. Furthermore, its status as a neutral nation allows the Vatican to act as a trusted mediator and humanitarian actor in wars and global crises. As a sovereign entity, the Vatican can sign international treaties, send and receive ambassadors, and participate in global organizations, all of which are essential for carrying out its diplomatic and humanitarian missions around the world. Despite its tiny size, Vatican City possesses all the hallmarks of a modern nation. It issues its own passports, mints its own euro coins, operates a postal service, maintains its own media outlets, and has its own judicial system. Its security is famously provided by the Pontifical Swiss Guard, the world's oldest and smallest standing army. The Vatican's influence is not derived from economic or military might, but from its immense religious and moral authority. The Pope's leadership shapes global conversations on ethics, poverty, conflict resolution, and social justice. It's also important to distinguish between Vatican City and the Holy See. The Holy See is the central governing body of the entire Catholic Church, led by the Pope. Vatican City is the physical, territorial state that was created to guarantee the Holy See's independence. In international law, the Holy See is the sovereign entity, and it maintains its status even without territory. The treaty also granted extraterritorial status to various significant properties in Rome, such as major basilicas and administrative offices, legally treating them as foreign territory belonging to the Vatican. In modern geopolitics, the Vatican continues to play a significant role. The Holy See maintains diplomatic relations with over 180 countries and actively participates in global discussions on peace, migration, climate change, and human rights. Over the decades, popes have been instrumental in mediating conflicts, from the historic thaw and use of Cuba relations to disputes in the Middle East and civil wars in Africa. Through encyclicals, speeches, and diplomatic efforts, the Vatican continues to shape global debates on morality, environmental protection, and social justice, acting as a moral compass for millions. In summary, Vatican City became an independent nation not out of a desire for land or power, but to secure the autonomy of the Pope, maintain its neutrality, and protect the universal mission of the Catholic Church. From the fall of the Roman Empire to the modern era, its journey from a vast kingdom to the world, a small state, is a testament to its enduring quest for spiritual freedom. Today, that independence remains just as crucial for its work in global diplomacy, humanitarian leadership, and spiritual guidance for the world. If you found this breakdown insightful, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dive historical documentaries.